Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to Government House, Yarralumla. Dawa Nuna, Dawa Nunawil. I acknowledge the Ngunnawal people as the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather and recognise any other people or families with connection to the ACT or this surrounding region. I respect their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the life of this city and this region. And I also acknowledge and welcome any other Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islanders that may be here with us this morning or watching online. My name is Paul Singer and I'm the Governor-General's Official Secretary. And as this badge signifies with its cross quills, I'm also the Secretary for the Order of Australia, the council which makes recommendations to the Governor-General, who is the Chancellor of the Order and the Principal Companion of the Order. And I'm also the Secretary of the Australian Bravery Decorations Council, the body which makes recommendations to the Governor-General for bravery awards. Before we start the ceremony this morning, I'd like to acknowledge among our distinguished guests, General Angus Campbell, Chief of Defence Force, Commodore Letitia Van Stralen, representing the Chief of Navy, Air Vice Marshal Harvey Reynolds, representing the Chief of Air Force, Dr Gordon de Brewer, Commissioner of the Australian Public Service Commission, Mr Anthony Draheim, Chief Officer of the ACT State Emergency Service, and Mr Andrew Phelan, representing the National President of the Order of Australia Association. Welcome all. The Australian Honour System provides a wonderful mechanism through which we as a nation can recognise ordinary people who do extraordinary things. And since its inception in 1975, almost 400,000 people have been recognised for their meritorious, bravery, military or national service. And the Order of Australia is the principal means of recognising outstanding service, and it's important to note that nominations come from all parts of the community. Anyone can nominate. Today is a special day, not only for the recipients, but also for their friends, their families and their communities. It's a day when we celebrate a diverse range of impressive achievements and service. My colleagues and I here at Government House look forward to making this morning a day that you'll recall with pride for a long time to come. Shortly, I'll invite you to stand for the arrival of Her Excellencies the Governor-General and Mrs Hurley, and then please remain standing and join in the singing of the first verse of the Australian National Anthem. And the investiture will then proceed in the order listed in your program. After I read their names and citations, the recipients will enter from the doorway on my right, and after they've been invested by the Governor-General, they'll return via the central aisle to take up their seats at the back of the room. And it's at this point you might like to show your appreciation with a short applause. At the conclusion of the investiture ceremony, the Governor-General will say a few words, and then we'll invite the recipients to join with Her Excellencies out on the state entrance stairs for an official photograph. After the photograph is taken, we'll invite recipients to join with the guests and Their Excellencies out in the dining room or on the lakeside terrace where refreshments will be served to celebrate this very special occasion. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, relax and please enjoy this very special morning. Would you please stand for the arrival of Her Excellencies the Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia and Mrs Hurley, and for the singing of the Australian National Anthem.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts, of beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every state advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated.
Good morning, and can I add, Linda and my welcome to you all on a very special morning in the life of our recipients, their families and friends, and indeed our country, as we recognise significant contributions to our national life at so many levels. Can I also begin by acknowledging the Ngunnawal people, the traditional custodians of this land, and the other families who have connection with the lands here in Canberra. The Canberrans may have heard me say this before, but we're in a beautiful part of the country here. Namadgi down south, indeed, we had the man who created the Namadgi National Park here yesterday for recognition, David King. That was a magnificent opportunity. We've got the Brindabellas over to the west, the Murrumbidgee, the Molonglo that circle our city here. And we thank the Ngunnawal and others for looking after it for us for generation after generation and pay respects to them. And just mindful at the moment of our responsibility to the younger generation of Indigenous children whose future is critical to the future of this country. Our purpose today is to celebrate the significant achievements of our recipients we have with us this morning. It is a day of pomp and ceremony. The military is here in its finest. Everyone's dressed to their best for the day. The gardens have been well tended. They've been out there nearly every day for the last week, getting it exactly right. It is a day of high celebration. Indeed, these 2 weeks, the Investiture weeks at Government House, are the highlight of the year for us because we get the opportunity to recognise such outstanding Australians. But please, in all that, relax and enjoy the occasion. Don't forget to breathe. Some people forget sometimes. We're here in a joyous occasion to celebrate this day. We will acknowledge today people who have made a contribution to Australia in a variety of professional fields at the community level, in military service, in public service, and in service to our emergency service organisations. There's some common traits that bind them together: selflessness, that desire to see something done, change, supported or occur in my community, in my country. Hard work, there's no doubt about that. There's a sort of stickability to people who continue in these jobs over many decades. Those characteristics make me enormously optimistic for Australia. And indeed, Linda and I see them on a daily basis, 365 days a year as we travel around the country. You cannot be optimistic for this country with the quality of the people we have. Yes, we have issues, but we have good people to address them. Another common characteristic I see is humility. Every person who comes through that door or in the door in another government house at some time during the day will say, but I didn't do it for a medal. I didn't do it for this sort of recognition. I saw a need that need to be addressed. That humility to our recipients is delightful to see, but today I give you permission to put it aside a bit, and you may boast, not brag, because your country is saying today, thank you for what you have given us. Paul mentioned the Order of Australia and the number of people have been recognised. Our Order of Australia came into play in 1975 as we transitioned out of the imperial awards system. It has, I think, one characteristic, perhaps unique amongst honour systems around the world, but certainly important to us, and that is it's a bottom-up system. So what do I mean by that? Ours is not a system where elites in Canberra or any other capital city look around the countryside and say, Bill, Bob, Jenny or Joe are doing a great job, I'm going to present them with a medal. Every person in the general division who comes through that door and a similar door in another government house is there because a fellow Australian nominated them. Someone saw their work and said, that merits recognition, I will nominate them. I want you to remember the diversity, or take note of the diversity of activities we're acknowledging today and the need to nominate, because at the conclusion of the formal part of the ceremony, I'm going to issue you some homework. They are clues to what you're looking for. Could I especially mention the families here this morning? I know how this works, and I know that each of our recipients would not be able to be recognised for the work they have done without support from families. This is very much your day, as well as theirs. So please celebrate with us. We're extraordinarily grateful for what you give to allow others to give to the country. And finally, to our recipients again, congratulations. I will meet you individually in a moment, and then we look forward to catching up with you and your families later on this morning. But this is a very important day in the life of our nation when we celebrate significant contributions to who we are and who we aspire to be as Australians. I'll now begin the formal ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, to be presented with the insignia of his appointment as a companion in the General Division, the Honourable James Allsop, for eminent service to the judiciary and to the law, to organisational and technological reform, to legal education and to insolvency law. Chief Justice Allsop has had a distinguished judicial career, firstly as a judge of a federal court, then as President of the New South Wales Court of Appeal, and since 2013 as Chief Justice of the Federal Court of Australia. He's provided outstanding intellectual leadership and has been responsible for producing numerous significant and influential judgments. As Chief Justice, His Honour has implemented fundamental reforms of the court designed to reinvigorate and modernise it to operate as a truly national and international court. In addition, he's been instrumental in fostering collaboration between the Federal Court and 23 courts across Asia and the Pacific region. He's also made significant contributions in legal education and has been active in encouraging gender equality in the legal community. His Honour has been an exemplary leader of the court, and we are indebted to him for his service. The Honourable James Allsop appointed a Companion of the Order. Appointed a Companion in the General Division, the Honourable Colin Barnett, for eminent service to the people of the Parliament of Western Australia, particularly as Premier, to economic and infrastructure development, to social welfare reform and to the Indigenous community. Mr Barnett is highly regarded for his invaluable service to the people of Western Australia. As the second longest serving state Premier since World War II, he was an influential political leader who worked tirelessly to improve the economic prosperity of Western Australians. He oversaw the delivery of a range of major infrastructure projects, strongly supported the development of the mining and energy sectors, and focused on building stronger trade relationships with Asia. He set about ensuring that resource developments delivered better outcomes for Indigenous communities and set a benchmark for native title and related outcomes. Moreover, he increased funding for disability services, child protection and mental health during his term in office. Mr Barnett's dedication, commitment and service to our nation is outstanding by any measure. The Honourable Colin Barnett appointed a Companion of the Order. Appointed a Companion in the General Division, Emeritus Professor Caroline Bauer, for eminent service to medical research as a paediatric epidemiologist, particularly in birth defects and early childhood development, to health and welfare through public health initiatives, and to medical education. Professor Bauer is an internationally recognised medical research and population health professional who has made groundbreaking contributions to the wellbeing of children throughout her more than 40-year career. In 1980, she was vital to the establishment of Australia's first birth defects registry, subsequently implemented in other states. She led and mentored a team of researchers whose achievements in the diagnosis, causes, preventions, and management of children born with congenital anomalies has been world-leading. Her scientific rigour, tireless efforts to translate research into improved policy and practice, and pioneering commitment to consumer involvement have had profoundly beneficial child health outcomes. Professor Bauer is a modest and deeply influential leader, and it is evident her mentoring of the next generation of research scientists will improve the lives of children for years to come. Emeritus Professor Caroline Bauer appointed a Companion of the Order. Appointed a Companion in the General Division, Professor Glenda Halliday, for eminent service to medical research in the field of neurodegenerative disorders, including development of revised diagnostic criteria for Parkinson's disease, and as a mentor. Professor Halliday has been a trailblazer and a worldwide authority for people living with neurodegenerative disorders. Her work is focused on non-Alzheimer dementias, particularly Parkinson's disease, and she's one of the few Australian researchers in this field who has a truly international reputation. She's been generous in her mentoring and training of others, and the research and clinical communities are major beneficiaries of the values and technical skills that she demonstrates. Her contributions have been recognised by fellowship of the Australian Academy of Health and Medical Sciences and the Australian Academy of Science, and most recently by the award of the New South Wales Scientist of the Year. Professor Halliday is passionate about making a difference to the lives of people with degenerative conditions of the brain, and she is a highly respected ambassador for Australian neuroscience. Professor Glenda Halliday appointed a Companion of the Order. Appointed a Companion in the General Division, Professor David Hunter, for eminent service to medicine as an epidemiologist, particularly in relation to disease prevention and early detection, and to the etiology of breast, colorectal, prostate, and skin cancers. Professor Hunter is a world-renowned figure in the field of epidemiology. His research in multiple fields, HIV/AIDS, cancer and genetics, have placed him in the very top echelons of researchers, and he is one of our most highly cited academics. He currently holds top global position in epidemiology, the Richard Dole Chair at Oxford University in the United Kingdom. Previously, he was the Vincent L. Gregory Professor of Cancer Prevention and Acting Dean of the Harvard School of Public Health in the United States. He's initiated several large-scale studies, coordinating teams of hundreds of researchers. And he's currently designing and implementing the largest epidemiological cohort study, 5 million people in the United Kingdom. This project will enable researchers around the world to pinpoint genetic and environmental determinants of health for decades to come. Professor Hunter has made seminal contributions to science, to global health, and we honour his achievements today. Professor David Hunter appointed a Companion of the Order. Appointed a companion in the General Division, Professor Melissa Little, for eminent service to medical research through pioneering contributions to regenerative therapies for kidney disease and to stem cell medicine. Professor Little is one of Australia's top scientists, and she's demonstrated an unwavering commitment to transforming the lives of those affected by chronic kidney disease. She's also provided outstanding leadership and pioneering work in stem cell research for more than 2 decades and is internationally recognised for her work. Recognising that treatment options to address chronic kidney disease have not changed in over 70 years, she developed a method to replicate the growth of human kidney tissue in the laboratory by applying new stem cell technologies. Her service extends beyond her scientific discoveries, and as one of our leading stem cell researchers, she's played a key role in establishing Australia as an international leader in stem cell and regenerative medicine through her leadership of peak bodies. Professor Little is an outstanding and inspirational leader who has made an exceptional contribution to our nation. Professor Melissa Little, appointed a Companion of the Order. Appointed an Officer of the Order in the Military Division, Air Vice Marshal Stephen Meredith, for distinguished service in responsible positions as a Commander Aerospace Operational Support Group, Head Joint Capability Management and Integration, and Deputy Chief of the Air Force. Air Vice Marshal Meredith is an aviator of rare skill and ability whose commitment to the Royal Australian Air Force has been of the highest order. As inaugural Commander Aerospace Operational Support Group, he transformed Air Force's Test and Evaluation Organisation into a functioning air warfare centre, whilst achieving recognition of the centre among Australia's partners as a credible and effective entity. Under his leadership, the new division established clear focal areas to deliver against strategic priorities, and these initiatives provided an enhancement to our Defence Force capabilities. As Deputy Chief of Air Force, Air Vice Marshal Meredith has advocated for a strong independent aviation safety regulator and the strengthening of Defence's aviation safety framework. Air Vice Marshal Stephen Meredith, appointed an Officer of the Order. Appointed a Member of the Order in the General Division, Uncle Harry Ali, for significant service to veterans, to Indigenous organisations and to the community. Uncle Harry is a nationally recognised Indigenous elder whose service has shaped national, state and local government policies on Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander employment, higher education, veterans affairs and community engagement. His voluntary work has been most prolific, particularly his mission to promote the well-being and welfare of Indigenous people in areas critical for their advancement. He has provided strong commitment to the Bankstown Elders Network, the Aboriginal Veterans Association and the Sydney Coloured Diggers Anzac Day Commemoration Group. Uncle Harry is an outstanding role model and his achievements for First Nations people are most deserving of our recognition. Uncle Harry Ali, appointed a Member of the Order. appointed a member of the Order in the General Division, Dr. James Renwick, for significant service to the law and to national security. Dr. Renwick has, throughout his career, displayed original legal thinking and rigorous legal analysis to the benefit of Australia's national interests. He is one of very few Australian lawyers who have applied a deep understanding of national security law and its intensive development over the more than 20-year period since the tragic terrorist attacks of September 11 in 2001. He's committed himself to studying, teaching and advising in both Australian and international law relating to every aspect of national security. He's also made a strong contribution as head of the New South Wales Royal Australian Navy Legal Panel and his recent appointment as the Navy's Deputy Judge Advocate General. Dr. Renwick is also committed more broadly to the community, particularly as the Independent National Security Legislation Monitor, where he displayed an outstanding energy for reform, community consultation and courage in the quest to contain terrorist activity. Dr. James Renwick, appointed a member of the Order. Appointed a member of the Order in the Military Division, Commodore Nicole Curtis, for exceptional service to the Australian Defence Force in operational health, policy and capability. Commodore Curtis has demonstrated superior skill in a range of key roles in the military health domain and has been accountable for the safety and quality of healthcare on all operations and major exercises globally. A key achievement in her tenure as the Director of Military Medicine was the transformation of defence health policy from disparate and inconsistent policies across the services into a single defence health framework. As Director and then Director General of Navy Health Services, she successfully managed the delivery, approval and implementation of one of the most extensive reforms of the Navy health workforce since World War II. Commodore Curtis subsequently displayed superior leadership as the Director General Operational Health through her critical support of the Defence Transformation Strategy. Commodore Nicole Curtis, appointed a member of the Order. Awarded the Medal of the Order in the General Division, Mr. Barry Campton, for service to veterans and their families. Mr. Campton has generously devoted many hours to Canberra legacy and has dedicated himself to the welfare of widows and children of veterans for many years. He served most ably as Deputy Chairman of the Welfare Committee since 2020 and has managed the Legacy Liaison Officer subgroup of the committee for the care of some 250 widows in aged care facilities across the ACT. He's been a source of wise counsel on welfare matters and has mentored many new legatees following their induction to the organisation. For many years, he was also managed Canberra's legacy Mazengub respite facility on the New South Wales South Coast. Mr. Campton epitomises our values of giving back to others. Mr. Barry Campton, awarded the Medal of the Order. awarded the Medal of the Order in the General Division, Mrs. Elizabeth Harding, for service to youth. Mrs. Harding has been a champion of girls and young women in our community for over 35 years. She first joined the Girls Brigade in the United Kingdom, and following her move to Canberra, she served for many years as the captain of the company associated with the Hughes Baptist Church. She also undertook a range of leadership roles, including as State Commissioner for the ACT, as National Commissioner of the Girls Brigade Australia, and subsequently as International Vice President of the Girls Brigade Pacific. Mrs. Harding's commitment to the aims and objectives of the brigade have been invaluable in providing young women with important life and leadership skills that they have taken with them into the community. Mrs. Elizabeth Harding awarded the Medal of the Order. We move now to the Conspicuous Service Decorations. Awarded the Conspicuous Service Cross, Sergeant Georgia Hanna, for outstanding achievement in establishing the government communications capability for the KC-30A multi-role tanker transport aircraft for the Royal Australian Air Force. Sergeant Hanna has served with distinction since enlisting in the Air Force as a communications and system controller in 2011. Most notably, she led the establishment of the government communications capability for the KC-30A transport tanker aircraft, quickly resolving the operational issues encountered. Her actions have ensured that the communication system on the aircraft are reliable and secure to allow for the continuation of government business for senior government officials on board. Sergeant Hanna has demonstrated skill and diligence in her role, and her efforts are in keeping with the finest traditions of the Royal Australian Air Force. Sergeant Georgia Hanna awarded the Conspicuous Service Cross. We move now to the Meritorious Service Awards. Awarded the Public Service Medal, Dr. Karen Coleman, for outstanding public service in public health, particularly as the ACT Chief Health Officer. Dr. Coleman, since being appointed as the Chief Health Officer in December 2019, has led the public health response to several significant public health emergencies within the Canberra region. Notably, she's provided superior leadership of the COVID-19 pandemic response, acting as the key advisor to the ACT government. From the commencement of the pandemic in early 2020, she prioritised consultation with the health, business, education and non-government sectors to ensure that they are informed of the public health risks and the government's objectives. She was the main face of the ACT government's highly effective public information and communication campaign and gained the trust and cooperation of the Canberra community. Dr. Karen Coleman awarded the Public Service Medal. Awarded the Public Service Medal, Mr. Gerard Martin, for outstanding public service in delivering advice and support to the Prime Minister and his office and to the Department of the Prime Minister and Cabinet. Mr. Martin oversaw arrangements for the transition of the government following the 2022 federal election. He also demonstrated commitment to service as the head of Commonwealth Protocol through the delivery of the Australian government's response to the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. This involved an immediate response in supporting the Prime Minister's attendance at the Queen's State funeral and overseeing the arrangements for the National Memorial Service. In addition, he's led the delivery of the ministerial, parliamentary, communications and international visit functions within the Department of the Prime Minister and Cabinet. Mr. Martin, throughout his career, has provided strategic leadership, advice and support while serving successive governments with dignity and professionalism. Mr. Gerard Martin, awarded the Public Service Medal. Awarded the Emergency Services Medal, Mrs. Marlena Butters, for distinguished service to the Australian Capital Territory State Emergency Service. Mrs. Butters has been a volunteer member of the ACT State Emergency Service since 2004. Since joining the SES, she's held several key volunteer positions, including as Deputy Team Leader, and her current role as Deputy Commander at the Majura Unit. She's responsible for the management of all members of the unit, while actively volunteering for team leader roles to meet operational responses to storms and floods. She served in a range of frontline roles in response to natural emergencies, events including Cyclone Yasi and the January 2020 hailstorm event and bushfires in Canberra. Mrs. Butters is an inspirational role model for current and future female volunteers and leaders with the ACT Emergency Service. Mrs. Marlena Butters, awarded the Emergency Services Medal. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the presentations this morning.
We've acknowledged each of our recipients individually. I think it would be appropriate now to acknowledge them as a group. Congratulations to you all. As an aside, I suppose, I'm often asked, what do you actually say to them? Because we can't hear you. Well, you deliberately can't hear me. In the entire process in our honours and awards system from nomination till today, that moment is the only time I have with them privately. And I'm selfish. And I use that time to try to express to them from my perspective what I value in what they're provided for our country and their service. They may divulge it, that's up to them. I won't. And but I think it's very important just to be able to say to them, this is what I see and what you've done. So thank you for it. To your homework, you've seen the range of activities that people have been recognised for. In our General Division community panel, this session this morning a bit smaller than the normal because of this session we have all our ACs. But you know, back in your community, people who are providing service that in your eyes merits recognition. take the opportunity to nominate. Paul will explain how to do that in a moment. When you do that, I want you to bear a couple of factors in mind. Over the last two honours lists, we've achieved gender parity in male-female representation across the board. That's exciting, but we can't rest on our laurels, of course. We've put systems in place to help us maintain that, but we need your support as well. We are also underrepresented in Indigenous members of our community and in the multicultural members of our community. Again, we've got work underway with those communities to improve representation, but if you can assist through nominations, that we'll be very grateful for that, and so would the country. The Order of Australia must reflect who we are as Australia today. And so those representations from those groups is important. So I would like to mark your homework, or my successor will mark your homework as people come through that door in a few years' time. That's your job. Again, to families, let me conclude by saying again how grateful we are for your contribution. I often say to the individuals, the recipients, you've had your bling today, time to take someone shopping, to say thank you. But we are grateful for your contribution and we'll be celebrating with you today. And again to the recipients, thank you for what you've given your country. We're enormously grateful for that. And I now look forward with Linda to celebrating that occasion with you. Congratulations to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to assist with the homework that the Governor-General has set this morning, I do encourage you to access the online nomination form, which is available on the Governor-General's website at www.gg.gov.au. As the Governor-General has said, it is a relatively straightforward process. We look forward to welcoming those that have been successful through that process to an investiture such as this in the future. I now invite the recipients to join with Her Excellencies on the state entrance stairs. Would you please stand, if you're able, for the departure of Her Excellencies, the Governor-General and Mrs. Hurley.